The disadvantage in sales is like, there's never a moment where you just sit down and be like, okay, well, we did it. We had a great month. Then it starts all over again. You're at zero. And I think that's hard. So I think my intention would be just to have a moment where we can just kind of celebrate as a team the success, as even if it's for one day together, and just not have to talk about metrics at all. Like, just have fun.
From $11 million to $64 million book of business in just 4 years, we sit down with John Tunnell, and he walks us through exactly what it took to get there, the lessons he learned along the way, the lessons he is still learning today. This is one of the most transparent conversations I feel like we've ever had on The Buzz, and I am super excited for you to tune in today. With that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we have a very special guest with us today, rockstar agent John Tunnell. And I just want to preface this. 19 years ago, started as a scratch agent, and today he is sitting at $64 million in premium. John, welcome to the Buzz.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for that nice introduction. My name and rockstar don't usually go hand in hand, but I appreciate it.
Hey, anytime we are talking to an agency owner that comes on the Buzz, especially that has that much, I mean, you just walked us through your journey, but your growth, I'm excited to jump into in the Buzz. You are an absolute rock star, and I know that your team is also, you're surrounded by rock stars, so I'm pumped to jump into today. So 0 to 15 years, you did great. I mean, you were roughly up to 11 million in premium. In the last 4 years, you went from 11 million to 64 million. I'm not necessarily concerned right now how you did that. What I'm concerned with, or not really, the question I have is, what changed? Like, was it a mindset change? Was it a goal change? Did something in your life happen where you're like, okay, it's time to take things to the next level? Because what you've done is absolutely extraordinary. So I want to know, like, what changed, what happened that made you want to just get things in gear and take your business to the next level?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's like the journey, I think, evolved over from when I started to where we were a few years back. And, I felt like, I don't want to be selfish, but I felt like if we're going to spend a lot of time, I still had 10, 15, 20, however many years left. It's like, okay, there's an opportunity to start to buy books of business. Like, does it make sense? And, I just had to get over that fear of what happens if we don't make it. What happened? Because, as a scratch agent, from starting in 2007 even to now, like in my mind, I'm always broke, even though, I'm very fortunate to be able to pay bills when they come due and, not have to worry so much about payroll. But it's like, there's a lot of responsibility as an agency owner. I think the team doesn't always see. The people think, oh, well, that's great. You're here and that doesn't apply to me, but it does, because I had to just get that mindset. Like, I got to bet on myself versus other people at that point. Like, people were saying, this is the ideal size. Well, why? Why can't we be bigger? Why can't we have more of a team? And I kind of had to make that mind shift. I talk a lot about it with some friends. It's like you kind of have to go from that mindset as an agent, like hands-on, to more of a CEO mentality. And just being able to realize, like, if you have the right people in place, the right processes in place, you can really build something more than just a job. Like, I didn't want to have a job as an agent. Like, they will not, even though I miss those days, they won't let me talk to the people on a day-to-day basis just so we don't lose customers. Because I'll tell them, pay your bill, just do it. Like, you start to get kind of jaded. But to answer your question, I think it was just that mindset. Like, I don't understand why this is where why can't we grow bigger than a $10, $11 million agency at that point? And just kind of getting over the fear of failure, because it was really tough. And I remember those early years, and it's like you just live in so much fear every time you spend money or you hire someone, they don't work out. And it's a lot of pressure. So I think just getting comfortable with the uncomfortableness of everything, just kind of, I brought in operations manager, and I was like, this is my vision, this is what I'm thinking. And, fortunately she was supportive of that, came at a smaller agency size and helped us get to that next level. So kudos to her for believing in that.
Yeah. So just to dive in that a little bit, when you talk about, and I appreciate you talking about fear and the fear of failure and things like that. And so I would be curious what maybe if you can remember, like what was one of your biggest struggles that you had to work through going from that agent to CEO role? Because that's one thing that we get asked out about a lot. And I always love to talk to other individuals that have went through that process, because I also find that is a very difficult transition to go from hands-on. A lot of customers know who you are. You're in the day-to-day operations. To now you're leading an organization. You're leading a team. You're more of that true leader. So I'd be curious, like, what was one of your personal struggles, if you remember, going from that agent to CEO role?
Very easy answer: control. Like lack of being in control. Because, well, if I have them do it, it's not going to get done the same. And just being okay with that 80%. If they're as efficient as you 80% of the time, it's okay. It's going to work itself out. But just giving up control is the honest assessment. We can make a case for a lot of different reasons, but at the core of it, just being trusting, embracing change, like empowering the team, and just knowing they'll probably do a much better job than I can. Once they figure it out and you give them the tools and the resources to help empower them.
I hear you. It's funny that you say 80%, because I literally just had a conversation last week and I said, be okay with 80%. And she was like, are you okay if I do? I'm like, yes, I am okay with 80%, because you are owning this one thing. And I think as a CEO, the thing that I've struggled with is you own a lot of different things, especially in the beginning. You have your hands in all of these things, and you start working yourself out of those positions, and then you're left with, well, now what is my role? Like, what do I do? So I'm curious, as you make this transition, what is the thing that you're left with that you're like, this is the thing that I will own? Like, this is the thing I refuse to give up as the CEO of 3 locations.
I still really like to get into the analytics of things. So like where are we, like what's our close rates on certain lead vendors? I still like to have the relationship with those, even though I have powerful, capable people of that. I still enjoy that. Marketing them, I still enjoy trying to make the decisions, because I feel like it's my responsibility, number one, to make the phone ring. So if it's not ringing, it's like I'm not probably doing the job. And you can have people do that, but I do. That brings me joy. Also, as far as like leaders, like working with we kind of worked on the EOS model over the last few years as well. So just trying to work in hands-on with the integrator, just to make sure that they're have a good foundation. And I still enjoy kind of that leadership development. Not so much. Like, I like them to help develop their team, hire their team. I don't want to do the hiring, just because I know that the problem with me is I like pretty much everybody I talk to. So we would just have a bunch of nice people, and it's like they're not good at sales, boss. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to hire anybody else.
My bad.
But I still enjoy that, and just I think helping create. Like right now, we're doing a lot of process work, because that's, over that expansion. It's like, oh my gosh, like it's in my mind, and I'm mad at this person because they can't read my mind. So like we have to just define everything and just make sure that, A, Y, Z, this is our guide, and make sure that we're training people on that. And, just like what you guys have done with the AI training, it's just as important to work on the closing with the team. We need to make sure that they understand like the rules and how we do things. What is our, like we had a discussion the other day. It's like, hey, we have a floor of liability limits that we feel comfortable presenting at the end of, because I've seen what's happened over the last several decades of what happens when they don't have the proper protection. and it's in my mind, but as you bring on 30 or 40 other people, do they understand that that's important? Well, if you don't have anything defined in process work, you can't be upset that that's not happening. So just building that back up, I think, has been really enjoyable to me, just to make sure that my vision is still communicated there, and the trainings build upon that, if you will.
Yeah. So you run multiple locations. You have a ton of people, both in office and remote, correct?
We do.
Okay. So my question is, because this is something that we have struggled with in a remote environment, and we've kind of we've been in fully remote now since 2020. So we went through a lot of things on trying to figure out. So I'd ask you, how are you establishing a culture, a culture of buy-in, a culture of standard of excellence? What are you doing to help your culture, specifically in a remote environment, create that buy-in?
That's a loaded question. Right?
Give me the answer.
Yeah.
So here's the easy button for you. No, I'm just kidding. But it's a great question. So I think some of the things that we've done to help that, because that to me was a problem that I needed to try to help solve, because it's not the same as grabbing everybody and going to the coffee maker and say for 5 minutes, hey, these are our goals and so forth. So we transitioned to an online Zoom meeting, basically huddle every day. And what we've done, we do an all agency one 2 times a week, and then we do just individual, sales, service are separated 3 times a week, just so they can kind of go over, what's specific to them. They can do the role playing and all that. That's one component that I think's helped. Also, we use internal messaging, so if someone has a sale, just the banter, if you will. But we did this past January, we did a recognition event for last year, and we had a centralized location at Rosemont, Illinois, which is right by O'Hare, and flew everybody in and just did a big celebration. We had a dinner with DJ, and we did some awards. We even, everybody, there's a lot of glory in the sales, and, we did team member of the year, core value member of the year, that kind of thing. But we also just recognized everybody with a certificate of appreciation just for the work that goes in day to day. So just being able to hand that to somebody in person, I think, versus, some of the other things. But we've done virtual escape rooms. We've done what I've found is fun to do is I'm trying to create a promo every week, and I built it out in base 44, just a simple promo. Right now we're doing the 500 competition, so they get points for customer reviews, that they get a Google review, that kind of thing, just to try to make it more interactive. We set up people on a team, mix sales and service, and then when they score points, they tag in our internal Slack, and we have a VA team member, and she goes in and reports it so they can see the race in lifetime. So we did April showers last month. So it keeps me on the edge, on my toes, because I have to make sure to have a fun contest, and if it fails, it's on me. But what I have seen is there's a lot more energy, if you will, throughout the day. And we have it team shake and team bake. So as you know, the memes are out there to support the contest. So we're having fun with it.
Dude, shake and bake.
Yeah.
Let's freaking go. I love that, because I agree that's what my role has shifted more into, is processes and people, is literally the 2 P's that I'm constantly toggling back and forth. But having more fun, I think, is always something that we're trying to create, and especially in a remote environment, how do we stay connected, and how do we stay on track with our goals? How do we make that more fun? I'm curious though, you said core values of the year. I would love to hear your core values.
Sure. Being coachable is one of our core values. We before me. Those are the key components that we have. The we before me, I think, is really critical to our success, just because We've had people in the past like, oh, that's, like they would argue over a lead and that kind of thing. So we wanted to develop our core values to reflect what was important to the management. Helped develop this over the last 2 years. And so a few of them have been kind of like, does this still make sense? And we've had to adapt them. But the 2 core values that we base all of our decisions, being coachable. If you can't, like even myself, like I have to be flexible enough to understand like, hey, we've got a little bit of a turnover. What's happening? Like, is it onboarding not happening correctly? Are we giving people like not interviewing properly? Are we giving them false expectations of what this is? Being coachable, the we before me. I've got to pull them up. Like they're all over the place in my mind right now, but I can answer the rest of them. But those are the 2 big ones that we implemented.
I love that you say the we before me, because we get asked a lot because we're married and we've always worked together as a married couple. And it's like, what's your best advice? And it's very similar in business. It's like the marriage has to come first, just like the business has to come first. Like you have to base everything through that filter of how does this affect our marriage and how does this affect our business first before us as individuals. So I love that you have this culture of we before me as like the top of everything, because that you're filtering everything through that lens of like, how does this affect not just myself, but the entire team unit? Like, what does this do for the business as a whole?
And here's the other ones: positive attitude. Like, we need to, like, it's okay to have a bad day, but to bring the whole team around you down just because you're having a bad day, like, we really try to focus on a positive environment. So, positive attitude, self-accountable, and solutions-oriented. That's a big one, so I always don't get it straight. But, instead of saying, like, hey, guys, I have a problem, these leads suck. Like, hey, guys, I've noticed that we're getting this type, and here's what I would do different. Like, we're asking for the team to provide solution. And relationships matter, so it's not just a policy number. It's not just a prospect, just really getting to know them as a person. So, and those are the 5.
All of these are really great because, like, positivity, I mean, there's a ton of data out there around. If you have, like, your salespeople, like, the more positive you are, the more optimistic you are, the more likely you are to achieve success in a sales environment. Obviously, you got to put the team first, accountability. I love these. So you shared a few things. So you're meeting consistently on a weekly basis. With your team, or your team unit is meeting together both as an entire team, and then they also segment themselves. You have internal messaging through your Slack channel, which is the shake and bake competition. You're keeping.
I don't know if it's Slack. We use Slack.
Or I think you said Slack, right?
Yeah, we use Slack.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're using that. You're gamifying on a weekly basis, which I love because that's keeping it in front of them on a weekly basis. You're getting together. Are you getting together one time a year? Is that what your goal is? Or are you doing 2 times a year?
Just because of the size of the team, I would have every intention to bring them in more often. But when you get like 45, 50 people, and then you include significant others into the mix, it can get kind of costly. But we do I'm having our leadership team in quarterly as well. So we're looking at different, we've actually paired up with a couple of fellow agency owners in the area that, we'll just have somebody, like Gray coming in just to talk to our leadership team. And then we structure like out a day have a couple different speakers come in just to kind of give, coaching the coach, as you will. Just making sure that we're supporting that. In each quarter, we're meeting the leadership team, and then I haven't told the team yet, but we're actually looking at possibly trying to do like an all, inclusive resort somewhere and break it up. Like I've seen other agents have success with it, but they break it up where some of the team comes in so that you still have coverage, and then some of them go back and then they cover for that part of the team. So if we can figure out the logistics on that, I think it's definitely, it's fun to celebrate. I think the problem with an agent like myself is, I just expect like, hey, we're a big agency, we've got to grow, and I think we take that for granted. It's like well, Michael, just sell more policies. That's, like that. I'll send you some commission, and that check the bar. Courtney, I don't know. I have to say good job. Like, that's your role. But I have to work on that myself just to remember. But I think we never pause to just like, and that's the disadvantage in sales is like, there's never a moment where you just sit down and be like, okay, well, we did it. We had a great month. Then it starts all over again. You're at zero. And I think that's hard. So I think my intention would be just to have a moment where we can just kind of celebrate as a team the success, as even if it's for one day together, and just not have to talk about metrics at all. Like, just have fun. That would be my intention. How that will work logistically, we're still working on that. I've actually brought in an outside person that has experience planning those for insurance agencies. So I'm looking to see what they can come up with that would work for our team.
That's cool.
I love that you said that. We just had this in a team meeting last week where I was like, stop, everyone stop. Hold on. Take it in for just a second. Like, we're constantly moving the goalposts. It's like, wait, if we don't pause and actually celebrate this, our body will not know when we hit it. Like, we have to reinforce this feeling so we learn to accept this feeling when it comes. Because if not, we'll continue to delay our reward. And you can only do that for so long. We're reward people, like as human beings. Yeah. That's a part of our cycle. We need that reinforcement. So you have to emphasize that. So that brings me to, you went from 10 million, 11 million to 64 million in 4 years. Your team size, I would be curious the dynamics that shifted there and what you had to go through from like a leadership position. Like, what's the team at 11 million versus what's the team at 64? And I'm saying this because if somebody has, like for myself, I don't have a fear of failure. I actually have a fear of success. So when things start to get too big, I want to pull back because I'm like, ooh, that's going to take more of me. That's going to take more work. That's going to take more money. That's going to take more time. So talk a little bit about what 11 to 64 was like from a team dynamic and leadership and what that took from you.
That's a great question.
So I can paint the picture of chaos, right? So it's like, I really do think $11 million agency that my role was a lot more involved at that level. So I think as we scaled higher, I think the pressure kind of shifted more to the leadership team being accountable for some things when it's not working versus ultimately I am, but like, just being supportive if they make a bad hiring decision. Like, I told you so, Michael. I told you so, Courtney. You should never hire that person. Like, you can't do that. But I think where we saw, I think the biggest challenges is that, minimum expectations. What is our benchmark? What are we willing to accept? And as we brought in other agencies, it's challenged because different. There's a reason why an agency just kind of becomes stagnant and not investing in marketing, not growing. And then, we have to be okay with the change. But the hard part, I think, was just, are these, as sad as it is, the person that was a great salesperson in an $11 million agency is not always a great one in a $64 million. Like, a 20-item producer might be a great fit in some agencies. Unfortunately, it doesn't kind of work in our environment just because of the investment that we have in leads. And, I would say there's more of a pressure for an ROI to be positive in a larger agency than a smaller agency, is what I could probably equate to that. Leadership got messy because we would take, if Courtney was in an agency that we took over, whether it's right or wrong, my commitment was let's just bring them in, figure out if this is a good fit for our agency, keep them where they are in that role. It didn't always align with our core values, didn't align with kind of the fast pace of a busier agency. And that's unfortunate because it's nothing against the person. It's just where they're at in their career and where we're going sometimes don't align. And I think for me, like I really do genuinely like people, And I think it's hard because you see people that aren't going to be a good fit in 6 months, and you can see the writing on the wall. Like, it's like, it stinks. It sucks. You know, it's like, I want this person to work out. However, they're not capable of that type of growth that we're going to. So to answer your question, I think we had more turnover, and I think, you know, you just have to realize that being a larger agency, you're going to have higher turnover just because you don't have the luxury of, like, you know, when your payroll, I mean, I have higher payroll like on a bi-monthly basis than I had probably in 10 years when I was a small agent. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, we got to get everybody kind of aligned faster than possible. So I think to that also, it's like, you know, we're not the right fit for every candidate out there in the licensed agent role. Like, it's like, if you can't get up to speed quickly, unfortunately, we're not good, whether you're an LSP or a manager. So I think that was the biggest change. And, you know, having more of an impact on growth, like at a bigger size, like, you know, you're losing $6-7 million out the door in a year as is, just with normal decent retention, if you will. So
Yeah.
I think that you just have to be, I think, just not focus so much on the numbers as closely, even though you have to, but use outside sources like, you know, an accountant, an attorney. I didn't have to think about that at a $10-11 million. Like, everything that we did, we could control momentum a lot faster than we can control now. But I guess the advantage, if there's changes, you know, we can adapt to changes. We can add, we have a lot of processes to provide a lot of leads a day. So if we need to scale back, we can do that quicker, and probably, you know, we can cut, not that you want to say this, but you want to say it, like, if something happened to like commission scales or something and it gets cut back, we can absorb that a lot easier than I could at 10 million. Because if I lose 2 producers, that might be my whole year at a $10 million. If I lose 2 or 3 people here, it's like, okay, more leads for everybody else at that point. So, and I say that as kindly as I can.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's just the economics of it.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
as you grow, you have more people to spread that around.
And you've been, and I just want to say thank you for being very transparent with, like, you made a statement earlier, something to do with, I wrote it down, I can't find it right now because I have a page full of notes, but the pressure to perform. Like, your pressure to perform is greater now than it was at 10 or 11 million. So, and you just walked us through a lot of what you're going through on a day, week, monthly basis with some of the stressors, your leadership team, the decisions you're having to make. And I appreciate you saying this because I think there's a stigma out there that, you have a huge agency, so you're just making a shit ton of money. And it's like, well, yeah, but also no. Like, there is a ton of pressure for you to perform because you have so many more people on your team. Your expenses are so much larger that you have to perform to pay the bills. Now, yes, with a bigger size agency, you do have the ability to also maybe cut in other aspects that a smaller agency doesn't cut to get the cash that you would need to get. But those are also really tough decisions to make. And so, like, there's nothing easy about, like, where you're at in your role. It looks a lot different than 10 and 11 million, but that doesn't mean it's even any easier. Like, the decisions just get tougher. The role, in my experience, just gets tougher because of the decisions you have to make. Insurance agents, are you tired of hearing, well, the customer only wanted one policy, or they only wanted the cheapest price? My name is Michael Weaver. I was an agent just like you, turned coach, and now I've coached over 17,000 insurance professionals just like you across the country and helped generate over 200 million in insurance sales. This Thursday, I'm going to be doing a free training on the P&C sales conversation that will help your team have more confidence in not only generating higher liability limits and more policies per household, but overcoming objections before they hear them. So if your team could use a boost in confidence that will help them increase their performance and production on a daily basis, make sure you click the link below, and I will see you on Thursday.
And I think I'm fortunate because we have a core leadership team. Like, we have right now 7 people that help support, and we do the level 10 meetings like from the EOS background, which basically means just I sit on that, and that's kind of like where I get up to speed on everything. So I still have a pulse on the agency, even though I'm not like in the taking granny's payment, talking about the cats anymore kind of environment. But I still get hey, here's a customer highlight, here's a LSP highlight of the week, that kind of thing. So but I think, although that pressure, like my role is not to freak them out all the time. So it's like, oh my gosh, like we got to cut back on this. Did you see this went up? But I think you have to be physically responsible. And I think it's important to have leadership that can be mature enough to understand, like if you talk about a bill that we need to cut it back a little bit, that they can have the foresight to be like, okay, well, we're making decisions because we're looking 6 months out versus like today we're going to have to cut people. Oh my gosh, I got to go back and tell the whole team. So it's just that emotional maturity, I think. And I look at our core values, and like, probably in 2010, I wasn't always that positive because I was in the day-to-day calls, and it's like, you have to remind yourself a person needs so much love in that service chair, because they're the ones that are taking the heat. And you have to remind yourself, it's like, okay, can this person be positive and work in that role? What can we do to help support that through technology, through training, technology training, as you guys have a great product in that. But just helping think differently and try to look through their eyes versus our eyes. And sometimes we just look at it as an expense where it's more of an investment in our team. Mm-hmm. So but I'm very fortunate to have leadership that A, supports the vision, but B, buys into it and understands their role in making it happen long term.
Oh, I love that you say this, John. I'm vibing with you so much because the vision is literally the one thing that we can't give up. Like, we can pretty much delegate everything else, hiring, firing, like almost every single number we can give away. But the vision, the thing that we are working towards and getting everyone bought in on and realigning attitudes and expectation really comes down to us. Like, where do we see this thing going? And what are our different ways that we can get there? That's through collaboration. But I love that you're saying this, because the biggest thing that I have struggled with is having more time on my calendar, because I'm not in the day-to-day as much. And that time has actually gone to complex thinking. Like, okay, let's think through bigger problems. Let's think through where we're headed, not in 6 months, but in 6 years. Like, what does this look like? Let's back into all of this. Who do we need? Where are we struggling? What are we doing really well? Ooh, I noticed they were off. What is the thing that's making them off? Like, just trying to pick up on little cues. So I'm curious, with your leadership team, what decisions do they have privy to make? Like, what have you let them make decisions on? Hiring, firing, numbers wise? I'm curious on what they have reign to do.
Pretty much, all the above. I think they're to the point when I start asking about specific people and like what they're doing, they kind of pick up on it as like, maybe I should look a little close to see, is this person soon to be gone? And I challenge them, like, just to make sure that they're looking at the same activity metrics that I would look at, like call gap reporting. Like, I could hide a lot in 2007 when I started, like, from, if I didn't feel like doing much, I didn't do much, right? Like, nowadays it's like, we're looking for somebody that can give us 3.5 hours of talk time. Is that, we're talking an 8-hour day, nothing. But we have people that struggle with that. So, like, if I bring that up, they're usually pretty good about seeing, I'll call it dead weight, because that's what it is. It's just like, could these resources be spent better if we invested more in leads for the rest of the people minus this person? So, but yeah, they hire, they onboard, they train, they fire. I gave up payroll recently and that was a big step for me. Like, it took me 19 years to finally, like, it was, okay, you can do it. And I struggled with that, but we were in for spring break with my kids and my wife. I'm like, what if I would have forgot to do payroll 3 days ago before I left? Like, nobody else can do it. And then I think, too, you look at legacy planning for your agency and, succession planning. What happens if something happens to me? You want to make sure that everybody on your team doesn't lose a job, and payroll can still be managed, and we have that in place. So that was a big step for me. So I empower the team pretty much. There's somebody on our leadership team that can pretty much do anything that I can do, including like vendors. If they want to mess around with the leads, I let them do that. So I still have my hand in the data, and that very well could be replaced by AI. Like, I'm no scientist by any means. So,
like, I teach you how to prompt it if you want to pretend that you're a data scientist.
Oh yeah,
I go through that way.
I built out some cool tools myself that it's amazing because like I didn't know the prompts, and then Claude would teach me the prompts and be like, ask it to do this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Amazing.
It's like, let me teach you ways here.
Yeah, sure. But you start talking this whole other lingo, and I think that's really important. I think I would challenge anybody that's like 10 years, 15 years, 1 year in, like, always be open-minded to what's around you, to use it as a tool to go forward, versus like, oh my gosh, AI is coming for us. Like, yes, Claude gave me the prompts, but you still have to have intelligence enough to say, this is what I'm trying to do with this, versus just, and the first time I did like a zip code heat map where we were quoting and closing, it looked like a drawing I had done in like kindergarten. But then when you bring in like, maps of actual things, and it looks like a real state versus just like a little scribble. Like, it's amazing how it's changing. But if I was stuck in my ways, like, well, that's not how we've always done it, and just ran an old spreadsheet, I think it's just a reminder, like, you just always have to keep your mind open to change, because it's always going to happen.
I love that. So good. Okay, one last question, because we did touch on expectations. What's non-negotiable in your office that you're like, ooh, this is dead weight, this person isn't going to make it?
Well, we're a sales organization, so if they can't sell something, like, I mean, sales is service, service is sales. If you can't sell stuff, like, the train station is happening. So like we have to have ROI, like positive ROI. So got to sell something. If you can't, so we have key metrics. So we look at items, then we look at serious quotes, then we look at talk time, and then like, did we get anything? Like, did we get a Google review? Anything? Like, just, we have to have something. And we're very like, I want to say we try to scare people away when we're interviewing salespeople, just because it's like you're walking into it's not a train that can slow down for like, it's unfortunate. And I think that's another problem with scaling so much, is like that hands-on day-to-day stuff that used to exist at $10 million, it's just not feasible at our size. And so like, we really have to have them, like, are they open-minded? Are they coachable? And the minute that I hear them say, like, not that I would, but the managers, they're like, well, they're telling me that that's not how they did it, that agency, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, unfortunately, like, we need to scare this person to make sure that they understand, like, we're not just like, a slow-paced environment. Like, we're really fast-paced. If you can't be on the phone for 3.5 hours on inbound transfers, on like, with all the tools, and you can't interact with an AI coach for 10-15 minutes a day, like, it's not going to work long term. So, amen. The non-negotiable would be like the sales, though. Like, you got to have something.
I love that you said that. Like, literally, that's the clip. He literally gave you, we are a sales organization. Like, there it is.
And you said something. You said sales is service, service is sales. I love that. I'm going to quote that. I wrote it down. That's good, because you are 100% right. So, John, this has been fantastic.
I literally want to take this offline and just keep going, because I love this conversation, and I appreciate your transparency.
Yep.
Like, talking about, you have a monster book of business, 64 million. There are people listening right now that are like, what in the hell? I didn't even know that was possible. So thank you for being really, really honest about what it looks like, how you did it, like what you're still going through today. Like, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Yeah, John, this has been fantastic. For all of those of you who did tune in today, thank you for your time. John, if somebody wanted to follow you in your journey, what's the best way for them to do that?
I make some pretty corny stuff on Instagram under @TunnelAgency. So follow and laugh away or throw tomatoes at me, either way.
No, that's perfect. We've been connected a long time on social media. You do a great job. So make sure you click the link below, follow him there. Other than that, friends, thank you so much for your time and attention. They are by far your most important asset. We appreciate you spending time with us today. So go out and make it great. John, thank you again, my man. You crushed today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.